just saw. My name is Nasat Khaf. I'm a student teacher of the master teacher. I'm here to give our weekly updates and reading. And with that, we're going to start the reading. Today's reading is called Most Do Not Know. It reads, My beloved Qara'u M. Wu-Nawap, children of Wu-Nawap. Well, so much is going on worldwide these days. This planet is really being controlled by extraterrestrials. Yet most don't know it, for they are blinded by religion and beings that have been at war for thousands of years. From Anunnaki to Enki's, Dingir, and his brother Enlil's, Igigi. The same beings that became the Torah's Bible, Safaru, Sepharim, and Karabim, oversaw by those Anakim or Elohims, Alahat. Both sides seek to rule Taha, earth, and its resources, including livestock, both animals and humans. Then many other extraterrestrials came and joined in. Now most earthlings are under a spell of hypnotic sleep. They were given amnesia and worship the very beings who used them as slaves. Hunters, armies, enjoyment, pleasure, and food. So many that they don't really know which is the server or how and why. So they live by faith, hopes, wishes, and say their gods or God is unseen. These days it is coming clear of the mass deception, but out of fear, most cling on to fake religions, so they always become rivals. From the two brothers, Enki and Enlil, from the rival Anu and Alelu, on to Dingir and Igigi. A third group is always created, as you see, the Shumgal. So it became Cain and Abel, and you also have, down through time, the Habaru, Hebrews, Jews, became Sephardim and Ashkenazim, the third reform or Zionists. With Christians, you have Gnostics and Catholics, the third Protestants. With Muslims, you have Sunni and Shiites, the third Hashashin. And from each you have many sect groups, denomination, clans. All claim the very same unseen being as supreme beings. Each claim that the one they choose is the only true deity who will in time kill all you others. This is how the planet is ruled in these days, and Hamanu, humans, of all races are slaves to these extraterrestrials who use them to fight, kill, war, who give them weapons of destruction. Some whisper into the minds of some to create suicide, cults, gangs, armies, and police forces. Law enforcement gives them power to enslave, abuse, even kill any who violate the law. Or Habaru, Hebrew, Lawi Tanin, Leviathan, Dragos, Draconians, laws in God they trust. Yet they don't even know Baal is Baal God, or Enlil, and his son is Nanad, Sin, Zuen, El Shaddai. Any of them can be Yahweh, Jah, or Adonai, even El of Elohim, Allah, or Alihat, or Theos, or Theos, God of gods, Lord of lords, King of kings, which mean kin of their kinsmen, Revelation 19:18. And now again, they are killing human beings world over by war and hate. They call it politics. Apollo from Helios, Apollo, son of Zeus, and Leto. This is their religion. They serve the Anunnaki and don't even know it. Blind faith. They're all told that they are right. All others can die, kill, war, and fight to rule the planet. So now it's past 2000 AD. The 6,000 year ended in 2000 AD. They have been deserted by their overlords, and they are self-destructing worlds over in the name of God. What can we do, you ask? Stay out of their way. You see, they keep our race close to theirs as a shield of protection. Any group that teaches stay here, let's stay on this land amongst them, such as Nation of Islam or Moorish Americans, they let them speak as much as they want. But for those who say, let's go back home to Africa, like Marcus Garvey or Kwame Nkrumah, they kill or imprison them just to keep our race close. Why? Because the rulers of this universe are really our Salafu ancestors, Pa Neteru, and will remove them all. Yet, you are now mixed in with them and living by them, so close they don't wish to destroy you, their own children. The Anunnakis know this, and so do Pa Kamahu, Pleiadians. So they put it in the minds of the Kakasu, who don't really know why they will not let us return home to Afaf Rayay, Africa. So each time they hear a Nagaru, Negroid, teach, let's go, something in their mind says to them, call them a cult, or lock up their leader, yet don't let Pa Nagaru get away from us, or Pa Neteru overseers will destroy us all and start over. Well, I hope you understand now what you see going on around us all. Most don't have a clue, yet it is all around them. They need you in Abraham's religion. Don't accept them saying that UFO stuff is nuts, yet they spend billions trying to watch the skies and get on the moon, Mars. Why, if nothing is out there? They say, yet heaven is up there. God, Christ, came down from up there, yet all the while saying they don't accept that being can come down to earth from somewhere above. Deception in religion. Now let's look at each religious teacher or politician. They both campaign for followers to trust them when they speak about unseen powers or suffering, all the same. They repeat the same things over and over when they teach or preach. Nothing new, the same old stories, Bible, Quran, or politics over and over. No real answers as to why. Just believe. It's sad. Just zombies, robots, blind, leading the blind. And if you know the real truth, they kill or imprison you to shut you up. Yet, Wu-Sabat is now breaking this spell fast. Nothing they can do to stop it. It's too late. The hereafter doctrine is out now, and our people will wake up and watch as the Mudwahwu, evil ones, are removed from the planet. They seek weapons of mass destruction to wipe us out. Their overlords gave them these weapons back in the 1940s to destroy us all. They put ideas in the minds of the Germans who worked with extraterrestrials under Hitler. Then they came to the USA. Once Hitler and some of his men were taken up, the one left behind came to New Babylon, USA, and built weapons as atomic bomb and more with the plan to destroy the whole planet. Since 2000 AD, they are back at it again with these massively destructive weapons, killing, warring, fighting religious wars as their overlords left them, here to self-destruct. However, their spirits are trapped. Their ghost orbs of white balls of light will get destroyed too. They are confused and don't know what to do. So, they offer flesh and blood and pleading to their gods to return, so they now use weapons, weather weapons such as the HARP project, to kill millions each month, offering to the Karabu, Kerubim, flesh and blood sacrifices, asking their god, Nanar, Zin, Zuen, Zion, to return for them, to smell the sweet savor of burning flesh of millions in wars, floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, storms. So much right now going on all around us. Again, sad that most don't know. They even offer their own, the poor whites. They don't care. Sad, but true. Don't believe me? Check it out. Okay. As for the updates, roll back yourself. Roll back yourself. Number 1, what are the 5 elements of life to this planet? Hydrogen, helium, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. You have 2 gases on one side and a substance and 2 gases on the other side. Carbon is the base, and women give life. and form the body. Another interesting point is if you add up the atomic weight of these elements, you reach 24. Again, this is the number that ties into this planet, thus planet from Project 24 to the 24,000 year cycle, 4 cycles of 6,000 years to the 24 to 24,000 genome, etc. Number 2, Yanun is the 19th seat. If you look at the position coinciding with the 24 hours, it lines up with the portal or gate. Yanun completed his mission as of the year 2000 by bringing the knowledge of the heavens and the earth. Panabab Yanun. Women must pick it up now and write ours as carriers of the mitochondrial DNA. We are the timekeepers and must reset history by keeping our genes pure. We began with Amun, Nubi, Reak, Ptah, from Atum to Amun. We have completed an equinox, and they have become equal. We have from 2030 to 2060, and by that time, the Adamite race will be completely gone. What did Pa-Nabab Yanun say would happen to them? That they would fade away. Number 3, this is a genetic evacuation to eliminate. That is why there are so many gray sightings and so many abductions. They are going in the genes to see how much Pleiadian is in your genes. For example, a person is abducted and then, depending on the genes, determine the way the genes could possibly be going weaker or stronger. If 2 dark-skinned people have a child lighter than them, then obviously the genes are weaker in that child. Now that is just one child, it is made clear by the more children you have. The last child born can give you an idea of which way your genes are going. Number 4, they are not pushing blonde hair and blue eyes. They are pushing red hair and green eyes. You see, they are 2 races, the red, the Adamites, and the whites, the Canaanites. Abraham, a red, didn't want his son to have a white wife, so he said, "Don't take a wife of the daughters of Canaan." Although Rebekah was fair as her father, Laban, and she gave birth to Esau, red covered with fur, and Jacob, who was fair. No, Abraham's sister and wife Sarah, when taken to Egypt and taken by Pharaoh as a wife, the women prepared her and put her to sleep and tied her tubes. They did not want a foreign seed. Yet once she returned to Abraham and they were visited by the Lord on the plain of memory, mentioned in Genesis 18, she was told she would bear a son. They were being monitored by these beings who wanted this pale seed, and untied her tubes and told her she would have a son in a year. So you have different beings breeding with Adamites for different reasons. The 2 brothers, and the conflict continues today. One side is for the pale Adamite race, and the other is for the red. One says, "Sacrifice your son to me," Genesis 22:2. And he said, "Take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and give thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him therefore a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will tell thee of." The other says, "No, sacrifice this ram instead," Genesis 22:13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his thorn. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. Again, these are not the same gods, Yahweh. They are 2 different ones. Number 5, there was a lot of mixing when the Israelites went into Egypt. They were 60 souls when they went in, and it was 60,000 when they came out. These were led in the wilderness and protected by a craft referred to in the Bible as the pillar in the cloud by day and night. Their gods. Now these Hebrew Israelites lived there for 430 years. It only takes 4 generations for a change to occur in the genes. So when they came out, they were Egyptian mixed, and being they had a recessive gene, they were no longer white. We must perfect our genes to make it out of here. Number 6, Tammuz is who met Moses on the mountain, and he was allowed to see his back. Exodus 33:18-23. And he said, I beseech thee, shew me thy glory, and I will take away my hands, and thou shalt see my back part, but my face shall not be seen. Moses was not allowed in the promised land because he had been exposed to the radiation from the Khaf and thus poisoned. He lived to be 120 and nearing death, Deuteronomy 31:2-14. And he said unto them, I am 120 years old this day. I can no more go out and come in. Also, the Lord has said unto me, thou shalt not go over this Jordan. And the Lord said unto Moses, behold, thy days approach, that thou must die. Call Joshua and present yourself in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. Deuteronomy 34:7. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes was not dim, nor his natural face abated. Exodus 24:16. And the sight of the glory of the Lord was like devouring fire on top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. Exodus 24:18. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and got him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. That's why the priests wore the breastplates and the Urim and Thummim and were protected. It is after this chapter that the children of Israel were instructed on how to build the Ark of the Covenant, which was designed to allow the children of Israel to communicate with the children of Israel. The people in the wilderness were tired of waiting for Moses to return and turn back. Exodus 24:17. And the sight of the glory of the Lord was like devouring fire on top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel, worshiping what they were in Egypt, like Nasat, wife of Enki, the bovine in the form of a golden calf. Exodus 32:8. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto and said, these by thy God, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Moses returned and is upset by what they had done and dropped the tablet. Exodus 32:19. And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot. And he cast the table out of his hand and brake them beneath the mount. Exodus 34:1. And the Lord said unto Moses, hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first table, which thou breakest. Exodus 24:12. And the Lord said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee table of stone, and law and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. Me stones, and they explode, and they were disc. The gods were made and wanted blood, so all those who worship were killed. And Moses said the Levite priests too, because they were responsible for the people, yet everyone else was plagued. And that concludes the updates. Anybody new? You new, brother? You don't got no questions? All right. What happened is, we are the United Nation of Nawapians, right? And I don't know if you ever heard of Dr. Malachi Z. York. Okay, Dr. Malachi Z. York been teaching for years, over 30 years, trying to wake our people up. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that, our people is in a mental sleep, a slumber of knowing who and what they are. They don't know who they are. They walk around saying they're African American. They walk around saying they're colored people at one time. We the only race on the planet that allow other people to name us. You know what I'm saying? When you see, that's just a name. They got us spiritually, because when you talk to black people and you say, okay, what's your religion? Most of them are either Christians or Muslim, right? Now, when they're Christian, the source of that religion, when you say, who is your creator? Who does your God of that religion look like? Most of the time, if we be honest, Christians worship Jesus. And the image that they've been circulating all over the world is an image of a hippie-looking Caucasian, right? So if you talk to a little child who's been raised in this world, you say, is Jesus black or white? They automatically going to say he's white. So at that point, they're stripping you from a spiritual contact with your own ancestors, because they're teaching you from the time you're young that your spiritual connection is with a white person. Now, the problem with that is this. The slave and the slave master cannot worship the same God. You understand? Because if I'm the slave and I want to be free and I'm praying to your God to be free, and the white person is praying for me to stay in slavery, that God who looked like them is going to be listening and answering their prayer, not ours. You understand? Islam, the same thing. The key figure for that religion will be Muhammad. And to the whole world, Muhammad is an Arab. And most blacks don't even consider Arabs black, even though you can find black Arabs in Arabia. You understand? But the whole world accept Muhammad as a pale Arab. You understand? So that religion ties back into someone else. We're the only race that accept anybody's religion and take it on ourselves and call it our own. Whereas you can't take a black religion and say it's a prominent black figure, right? And say, give it to an Asian person. Let's see if they're going to worship it. They won't. You understand? Give it to a white person. They won't. But for us, it happened because they stripped us of our DNA, which stripped us of our mind mentally. When you take a people, and this is a hoax, they taught us that they took us from Africa, right? And took us on a ship and brought us to the shores of America, right? You got to think about when they tell us things. A ship that travels from Africa to America, at the time when slavery happened, it wasn't made of steel, it was made of wood. It would have took 3 months for a ship to travel from there to here. Now, they give us a lot of stories about us being packed on top of each other, you know what I'm saying? And being packed on top of each other in our own human excrements. That means feces and fecal matter right on top of each other. If that story was true, we would have died on the trip coming here, because it would have took more than 3 months to come from Africa to here. So that's a big hoax to teach us, to make us think that we're not the natives to this land. You understand? Most black people in America who was born here are from here. And we walked over here before the continental drift. See, what they don't teach you is they teach us about something they call Pangea, where all the landmass was together. But they don't teach you that we walked. When the landmass was together, we walked all over the whole world. So up to this day, you could research and you'll find that black people are the natives to almost every landmass in the whole world. Everywhere. Europe, you understand? Places that they think is Asian people, we was there first. You understand? So us being the first people, we needed a doctrine that relates to us as the first people. And Dr. Malachi Ziok, what he did, he came up with a slogan. And the slogan was called, I'm going to give you what you want so you can learn to want what I have to give. The reason he did that because he came with full-blown information. But it's very hard trying to teach a person who's extremely religious about some type of black identity when it comes to spirituality, right? Right now, if I go to a Christian church and I really say, yo, it's all about being black, they're going to be like, we not on that black stuff. It's going to be an issue, you know what I'm saying? So what happens is he had to go and put on a cloak, and putting on a cloak meaning become what we needed in order to raise us up. So he became a pastor for us. But first he was trying to give us information that I read today. In 1963, he was trying to give information like this. We wasn't hearing it. We heard it, and if he would have went as far as he going now, we would have been like, he's crazy. He's talking about people eating people in the Bible. That's crazy. The pastor don't teach that, and most of the people in church, they only know what the pastor dictates, right? Everybody in the church know. God so far loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. How much time a person come on a train and say that? You understand? These are key things that people always saying, but no one ever asks, why would God send his only son? Like if you a father, right? And there's problems in a certain destination, you gonna send your son or you gonna come yourself? If somebody breaks into your house, you ain't gonna say, son, go downstairs and check what that is. You understand? You're going to say, let me go and check this. Let me go get my bat, my gun, whatever it may be. Let me go check this out. But this person sent this person. We never thought that a lot of Christians would say, Jesus is our what? Lord and Savior. right? But think about it. If he is the Lord and Savior, wasn't he crucified according to them? So who is his Savior? You see the logic? We don't see those type of stuff. A person who got crucified is supposed to be our Savior. You understand? So the whole thing is, another thing, the cross is a symbol of death, because you see it in two places. You see it on top of tombstones when a person died, and you see it in church on top of churches, which is the mentally dead. Why we say that is because what do this cross symbolize? It symbolizes the death of a man, right? So now let's put this into layman's term. If you have a son, right, and your son get hit by a car, right, would you make a pendant with your son getting hit by a car and wear it around your neck and say, this is to commemorate my son? But that's what Christians do and don't see nothing wrong with it. So this type of information is what Dr. York been teaching for years, right, to try to get us out of it. And he would use the scriptures to show and prove that, look, this is what the Bible is really talking about. This is what the Quran is really talking about. This is what the Torah is really talking about, in order to walk our people through it so that they can get a full understanding of it. And when you got a full understanding of it, then you can realize, look, it's not for you. It's not even about you. It's not our story. You understand? Because when we go into those stories and really go into the strong concordance, the average person have never read the whole Bible. And what I mean by that is, if you have an English Bible, right, you have never read the Bible, if that's the one that you read. Because they would tell you that the Bible was not revealed in English. You understand? It was revealed in, they got strong concordance where you can get the Hebrew translation, Greek translation. You understand? So a lot of words in it doesn't even say what it say. Like for instance, we would say we have many deities. If you translate it into what they believe, they'll say you believe in more than one God. That's paganism. The word pagan doesn't mean nothing bad. It means of the yard, of the garden. You know what I'm saying? Has nothing to do with any religion. You understand? However, they'll say you're a pagan. That's their term for anyone that stays outside the lines of their religion. Now what happened is this. In the Bible, they have a word for God in the Hebrew, and the word will be Elohim. You understand? Now that word Elohim, when you understand language and what that word really means, because when it says in the Bible in Genesis, it says in the beginning, in the English it says in the beginning God created the heaven and earth, right? Now what happened is this. When you read it in the original language that it was revealing, it says Elohim, right? And it says Elohim. So when it says Elohim, that's a plural form of the word judges, not even God. You understand? So the singular will be Elo. So the mere fact that the Bible starts out Elohim, right? That's already telling you is more than one person there. Now what most people don't know is that the Bible, the Torah, the Quran was all plagiarized by ancient Sumerian tablets, ancient Egyptian stories. You understand? These things are way older than the Bible. The Bible is only 2,000 years old. The Quran is 1,400 years old. And the Torah, 6,000 years old. When we're talking about ancient Samaria is about 6,000 years old. Ancient Egypt, according to them, is 10,500. Now, these stories that's in the Bible is purely Mesopotamian or Anunnaki Sumerian stories. There's things in the Bible that talks about eating people. In Leviticus, the book of Leviticus talks about eating people. That people are talking about, we're going to eat your child today and we're going to eat my child tomorrow. They have conversations like this in it. And no one never point out those things to the religious people who accept those books. You understand? So what Dr. York been doing is revealing these things to us so that we could get out of it, for the mere fact that when you're reading those books, you're putting yourself on a certain frequency. When I mean frequency, there's a certain energy that comes with that lines you up with the people who made that book. The beings that made that book, they made it specifically for the people that they was controlling. It was a control mechanism to control certain people. And those people were the Adamites. The Adamites, according to the Bible, most people, when you say Adam and Eve, they think you're talking about the first man and first woman, right? But the Bible is a recreation story, because when you go to it and it says in the beginning, it's saying Barashif. Bara is recreate. It's not saying the actual beginning of something. It's a recreation story. And this creation story was dealing with Dravidians, which is Hindus, and Caucasians. You understand? So now, these are the stuff that's in there. This is the type of stuff that he reveals to us to let us know that those stories are about those people. Now, you could find black people in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? You can find us in Hagar, the wife of Abraham. You can find us from that story. But even still, we predate those stories. We have an older culture than the Bible, or than the Quran, or than the Torah. Our story connects us all the way back to Egypt. That's why when you see up here, Egyptian culture is the only culture that black people could lay claim to, but no one can say it doesn't relate to us. Because they show you statues that look as dark as that statue. Bolak, not just black, but Bolak. You know what I'm saying? So that means that when you're looking at that, you can't say a white person did that. Because what white person is going to make a whole temple with a bunch of black statues to say, oh, this is ours? For what? You know what I'm saying? So you know that Egypt is the only culture that relates to black people. You know what I'm saying? So now, all these other cultures stem from our culture. Whether it's ancient Samaria, whether it's the Bible, whether it's Yoruba, all these cultures stem from ancient Egypt at some point. Because if you study Egypt, you'll find that everyone in the whole world came to Egypt and sat at the feet of the rulers, of the pharaohs. You know what I'm saying? And they learned everything from martial arts. The Asians, people think they started martial arts. No, that's on the walls. Our ancestors started that. You know what I'm saying? From the prayers that the Muslims do, the Salat, that's on the walls in ancient Egypt. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't something that wasn't done in the fashion that they do it, but the same movements, the same things that they do is on the wall. Everything that people practice today, culture-wise, they come out of Egypt. No one, masonry. People talk masonry. You know about masonry? Well, even masonry, they use Egyptian symbols, the all-seeing eye. You know what I'm saying? That's the eye of Ra. You know what I'm saying? This is all our culture that people took and then they how should I put it? They made it evil. Made it something evil. You know what I'm saying? So everything that we did that was good, people took it and made it their own. And in a sense, they made it evil. But we go back to the root and say, this is our culture. We put our culture on the map, put ourselves on the map and say, this is us, this is who we are, this is our language. Even language. All language comes from the Egyptian language. If you study any English dictionary, you'll find that it gives you meanings, right? Or it gives you a diction, because it's called a dictionary, right? So what happens is this. A dictionary is supposed to be something that translates a word from one language to the next language. So when you get a dictionary, right, all you getting is really the diction of a word, the explanation, what it means. You know what I'm saying? In translation, it's never telling you the true meaning. You know what I'm saying? Because if you take a word like nice in English, it sounds good, right? Because we all believe that nice is a good person. But when you really go to the etymological meaning of it, it means something else. It means like a fool. You take the word queen, people be like, yo, what's up, queen? How you doing? When you go to the etymological meaning of that, it means whore. You know what I'm saying? So we go to the root of stuff. And Egypt gave birth to all the other languages. You know what I'm saying? In doing this, you won't get tied up into the spell, because it's all a spell on words. The spell is on words, and the spell of our conscious and subconscious mind. Because if I could get you to start accepting these things, I can control you. I can control the way you think. I can control the way you move. I control everything about you. They got our people into a belief system where we believe everything we hear. They even made a slogan. It said, seeing is believing. Now that don't make no sense. Because if you see something, you know. You don't believe. To believe something is to not know. When you read in the Bible or the Quran, you believe because you don't know if this is true. You know what I'm saying? When you see something, if I seen you and I met you and I say, yeah, I met that brother before, I don't believe that I met him. I know that I met him. You understand? So this is the type of things that the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Ziok, teach us to get us out of that mindset where we could be swayed to go against ourselves. Even from the point of public media, on the news. Most times, if you met me and you spoke to me and you said, okay, he's a fairly good brother. Then, for some reason, they put on the news that that same brother you met just robbed the bank. You know what most people say? They go, damn, that's crazy. I just met that brother. He robbed the bank? Damn, he must have having hard times. But never, the notion never hit to say, Is that true? Did he really do that? Who is he? Why would they want to do this to him? Because when you start studying the track records of all our leaders, whoever did something, or whoever stood for something at one point in their life, you notice that they try to kill them, they try to lock them up, they try to make character assassinate them for whatever reason. Because when you become effective and it become realized that you're no longer under the spell and people gravitate to you, because one of the reasons that the government or people in society who run the country have is population control. If they see one person can get a whole bunch of people to listen to them, they look at that as a threat. I don't know if you saw the Malcolm X movie, and it was a riot scene, and a guy got beat up brutally, right, by the police, and he went there, and the people was not leaving, and he went there and told the people, go home, we'll take care of it, and the people left. But the cops couldn't get them to leave, and they made a statement, no man should have that much power. You know what I'm saying? So when they see powerful men or powerful women, they seek to destroy them, right? So the root of the problem of our people today is what they believe in, is to get the whole concept of belief out of our mind. If I ask you, what's the smallest unit of time? Most people would say a second, right? Could they say 60 seconds, make a minute, 60 seconds an hour, you know what I'm saying? So what happened is this. Most people would say a second, right? Now think about this. What's the smallest unit of time? I'm asked the same question because we don't realize how much we're under the spell. The smallest unit of time they taught us was a second, which when we say second, what number is that equivalent to? 2. Because if you come in second place, you come in number 2. So time, they told us time starts at number 2. You see that? And they trained us for years to believe it. So now when someone comes and try to wake us up, it becomes like, hold up, does that make sense? Because they've been teaching us this for years. We did time in ancient Egypt in firsts. You know what I'm saying? Not in seconds, because we the first people. See, the second people, right? And they're not even the second people, but they came after us. You know what I'm saying? These people created a time system that works for themselves. You know what I'm saying? And it takes us off the path of what we need to be, because we didn't function, we didn't do time the same way they did it. You understand? Everything about their time is linked into them and what they're doing. We had time that linked into us by nature and how we connect with nature. For instance, they would tell you it's year 2000, right? 2016. Now, if you really had to scrutinize that and say how, and at what point did you start logging time? You know what I'm saying? You realize that this race, right, couldn't have logged the time, because how could you be the logger of the time when you a baby race? You know what I'm saying? Meaning, Caucasian, that race only existed for about 6,000 years. And another strand of them, 8,000. You know what I'm saying? So time been going on for longer than that. Dinosaurs existed, right? So how could a baby race tell us what time it is? We the first race, we the ones to give that information. And the Egyptians did. We had the sundial. We marked time by the sun. You know what I'm saying? Most people would say the Egyptians worship the sun. We say no, they acknowledged it. Because every religion acknowledged the sun. Every culture. Because if that sun don't shine, what happens to the planet? It freezes. We go into an ice age. If that sun don't shine, this planet freezes. No sun, ice age. You know what I'm saying? So Egyptians acknowledged that the highest form of power, or form of worship would have been the sun, meaning the form of acknowledgement, because the sun gives life to everything. You know what I'm saying? So this is the type of information that Dr. York teaches. He gives us what we call Wu-Sabat, or Wu-Sabat, right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding. Many of our leaders came. You see all those leaders on the wall? We pay homage to all of them because they all came with some level of information and educating our people. You know what I'm saying? So we give respect to all of them, whether it was Marcus Garvey, whether it was Elijah Muhammad, even Haile Selassie, Noble Drew Ali, all of them came with some level of information, right? But all the information that our brothers up there came with was somehow linked to religion. All of them. Whether, if you look on that wall, most of them was Muslims, Christians, Muslims or Christians. You know what I'm saying? Or Hebrews. So what happened is, we had to get out of that box of being tied into this religious thing, because religion is the opium of the mass. You know what I'm saying? That's a poison for our people. It was not made for our people. Our people was made to have culture. You know what I'm saying? And a way of life and ways of doing things, marriage ceremonies. You know what I'm saying? We had a culture where we did things according to natural nature. Other people do things according to unnatural nature. We do things that's natural by the laws of nature. So that's what Dr. York teaches, to put us on a path of knowing what's right from wrong. Because we got to a point where we didn't know right from wrong on the planet as a people. And since we are the first people, when they said God created man in his image and likeness, if black people are the first people on the planet, then we must be in the image of that creator, but not the one of the Bible. We predate him. You know what I'm saying? We go way beyond that. And the truth stands that if it was a physical manifestation of a deity, which is us, we would be supreme beings, then the first one would have been a woman. Meaning, woman is first. Religion teaches man is first. We teach woman is first because it's right knowledge. We have never seen a man give birth to a child naturally. You know what I'm saying? Women do that. You know what I'm saying? And it's a scientific fact that women have a Bartholin gland, which is equivalent to the male's bulbourethral gland, which secretes the same, which secrete equivalent fluid. So men secrete semen from their seminal vesicle, and women secrete sexual hormones from their Bartholin gland. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things that we prove that women are first. Women also have what's called a mitochondrial DNA. We had a lot of people out there hate this type of information, right? And they hate this type of information because it goes against what they normally know or what they think they know. We teach women are first, and women are the key because they have the mitochondrial DNA. You have some clown, right, go on YouTube and makes a statement. It's a female too. She says, mitochondrial DNA predates women and men. Now, people who don't know, they was like, damn, that's deep. That's real deep right there. So Dr. York must be wrong. No. Mitochondrial DNA, right? You're right. It does predate women and men. So does cells, right? So does chromosomes, right? But it still stands when the mitochondria incorporated itself with eukaryotic cells, because you have two types of cells. You have cells with a nucleus and cells without a nucleus. When the cells with nucleus, those were called multicellular, and the cells without a nucleus was called single cells. So mitochondria is the energy source of the cell, right? Without mitochondria, the cell cannot do all the activities that it could do. It can't live. So everyone have mitochondria, right? Whether you man or woman. When a man and a woman comes together, right? The man give his semen and the woman, takes it. And what happened is, with that mixture of semen and the ovum, right? It produces a child. Now, the DNA that comes from the mother and father is called nuclear DNA. Now, mitochondrial DNA is the DNA that's inside of the organelle called mitochondria, right? Now, what happened is, your mitochondria, all of our mitochondria come from our mother. Because when you study a semen, and you hear the word semen, which you can see phonetically is saying men from the sea. So these men from the sea that the man ejaculates and place into the woman's body, these are like reptiles. If you look at a semen and you look at a tadpole, you notice that they're the same thing. Thus, humans must be part reptilian, right? Or part reptile. And going back to that person, they said, how could a human be reptile? And I said, she in science? She know nothing about science. But the people in the audience kept on laughing like it was a joke. But I tell you, when you don't know something, information, any type of information could bewilder you, make you, wow, that's deep. So one thing the master teacher taught us is, don't believe me, check it out. And always ask questions. Because anytime someone is standing in front of you teaching, right? Or lecturing or whatever they're doing, they can program you if you don't know what they're talking about. So it's always good to ask them a question so that they can break things down and make sure you know the keywords that they're using. So back to this mitochondria now. Mitochondria, like I was saying earlier, it used to be by itself, when you study mitochondria, it used to be by itself on its own, right? And what happened is, over time, it merged with eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells are cells that have a nucleus. Prokaryotic cells are cells that has no nucleus. We as humans are made up of eukaryotic cells because all our cells have a nucleus. When a man and a woman come together, the mitochondria is on the tail of the semen. So it goes into the ovum, and the ovum destroys the tail. Only thing that goes in the woman's body is what? The nucleus. So the mitochondria is always from the mother. The mitochondria is a file of information, an undiluted file of information that lets you know the whole genealogy of a family. So it's through the women. If you don't have a daughter, your genealogy is cut off. They taught us in this society, if you don't have a son, your bloodline is cut off. It's really the woman. The woman is the one that has the genes that can carry on your family's DNA. So that's why we put our women on top, on high. You know what I'm saying? And in turn, she put us on the throne. So Nuwapians, we are a matriarchal society. That means that the women are the rulers in our tribe. The men are also rulers, but we give high reverence to the woman because the woman get the whole woman element. When you're dealing with women, creation is all about giving birth, right? Talking about a son gave birth to the planet. So the act of giving birth is a feminine quality. You know what I'm saying? So all of creation is feminine. So the feminine principle is the principle that we rely on because we know that's a natural principle in nature. You know what I'm saying? So we are a matriarchal society. That's another thing to know about us. So for years, like I said, Dr. York been doing and teaching this type of information to wake people up so they can know what's going on in this day and time. Any questions? Okay, the name European come from the goddess Europa. Europa is also a planet, you know what I'm saying? So they took that name, they took on that name. It's one of their names because there's a planet called Europa. So they would like to say that they're from that planet. You know what I'm saying? So in our book, we have a book called Set the Record Straight and explain how they are from a planet called Europa in the Pleiades constellation. You know what I'm saying? And Pleiadians are the beings who are responsible for them. Just like we have overlords. Overlords is beings that are higher than you. They may be older than you because they have more information than you, right? So Panababianan will be one of them. We will be children of those Netru or overlords, right? So our overlords look like us. Nagaru, they Negroids. You know what I'm saying? Caucasian overlords look like them. So you have the Nordic type. You ever heard of the Nordics? Well, during Hitler's time, Hitler created a group of Caucasians that later they would make a machine called a Nordic track. This type of beings, he was referred to as the Nordics. They was blonde hair, blue eyes. He had them run a race because he wanted to prove. He came to the Olympics and took his Nordics that he bred because Hitler was killing the Jews. He was killing anybody that didn't have the traits of blonde hair, blue eyes, right? Because he knew that anyone who had dark hair, dark eyes was of the black seed. You know what I'm saying? You had some Negroid in you if you had dark hair, dark eyes, up to this very day. There is no pure blood Caucasian today. So what happened is, he took them to the Olympics to show and prove that his Nordics are more faster and more stronger than Negroids. You understand? So what happened is, in this particular race, you had a certain black man that some of us may know. His name is Jesse Owens. And if you ever watch that video, you'll see when they did this race for Hitler to take his Nordics and make them go against the Nagaru that we know as Jesse Owens, it was an outlandish race, meaning this was Jesse Owens and this was them. You know what I'm saying? So it proved that being full-blood Caucasian doesn't make you better than anybody. You know what I'm saying? It makes you extremely weak, obviously, because everything is weak. If you got pale skin, lack of melanin, or least melanin, that's not a good quality. Because if you have less melanin, melanin is what makes you have color, right? You have your epidermis and your dermis layer of your skin. You got your melanocytes that are in your dermis layer of your skin. And your melanocytes are filled when you are dark skinned. If you're dark skinned, your melanin is filled. Your melanocytes are filled. When you are pale, your melanocytes are very low. So Caucasians have less melanin. And because they have less melanin, what happens is this. Melanin is the key for life. If you don't have melanin, you can't even reproduce. That's why a lot of Caucasians was having problems at a time when they couldn't have babies like that. They would go to fertility clinics to get their women pregnant, right? Because melanin is also a part of your internal organs as well. You understand? So even if a Caucasian look white on the outside, their organs are darker, their heart is dark, it's not pale. You understand? So melanin is what keeps things alive. Everything on this planet is coated in melanin. Without it, you will be attacked by the sun. Thus, Caucasians or pale people have a problem staying under the sun. Now, if you have a problem staying under the sun, then you don't belong here. Because if God made you and he put you on a planet that has a sun and you can't live in that habitat, then you are not God's creation. You understand? You was created by something else. You understand? You was a gravitation. You understand? So this is the type of information. Oh, your question, I answered your question. Any other questions? Okay. What happened is every race on the planet, right? When life was spawned on this planet, you had a seed of one of our deities, a tomb, that was sent to this planet to germinate the seeds. When scientists talk about how this planet was formed and how life was given birth on this planet, they talk about blue G algae, which is the single cell organism that eventually evolved into multicellular organisms. Well, someone had to plant that seed there, and that seed was planted by Pa-Neteru, our ancestors, right? Over time, the prototype for the original cell, it took about 46 billion years for the prototype of the first cell to be formed, right? And then our ancestors will come here and there and dip into the seed in order to speed up our evolution and make us what we are today, right? At the same time, our ancestors are doing experiments and trying to bring us forward, because we would be a hybrid of our ancestors. We wouldn't be just like them. We'd be a hybrid because we mix with reptilian, mammalians, you know what I'm saying? So what happened is, over time, other beings from other galaxies, like Pleiades, in the Bible, it tells you about Pleiades and Arcturus. These are constellations where other beings are from, other older Caucasian-looking people. They're not Caucasian in the sense of the people that you see today. They are older than them. You understand? They would be their overlords. So they would come here and dip into the genes of us. You understand? Because it takes too long for you to make your own race on this planet. It would take too long. So an easier way of making your own race would be abduct the original race that's here and graftate them. Over generations of gravitation of us, you breed different type of races on the planet. So everyone on the planet came out of the seed of the original Nubians, whether it's Asians, whether it's whites, whether it's Dravidians. You know what I'm saying? With other interbreeding as well. Because the Caucasians don't only have our genes in them, they also have the genes of dogs. They also have the genes of pigs. They also have the genes of monkeys. Some of us now have the monkey gene from mixing with them. You understand? They had the dog gene. That's why they smell the way they smell. When it rains, you be around them when it rains. You ever smell how it smells? It's just like a dog. You understand? They have the pig gene. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he have a heart problem. They put a pig heart in him. If we could put a pig heart in your body, then you are genetically compatible with a pig. You understand? We are not compatible with a pig. They are the monkeys. In slavery days, they used to say black people are monkeys. Look, they dark skinned and they ugly and they got big lips and big nose. But have you ever seen a monkey with big lips? Because last I saw, monkeys don't have lips. They got these thin things. You ever saw a black monkey? Because if you shave a monkey, they pale. You know what I'm saying? You ever saw a monkey with an afro? I never saw one. You understand? So the whole point is this. Many of the stories and many of the jokes they used to make about us was all about themselves. And we didn't know because we were stripped. If I take you and I enslave you and I teach you for over 400 years, you're going to be astute in information that I taught you. Thus, you would never overrule me in any type of teaching, any type of lesson, because I'm your teacher. I'm your master. Even when I make you free, I never teach you nothing about yourself. I constantly make it repetitive to teach every February black people came from what? Slavery. So in your mind, you never have a concept of your people as anything great but slaves. And now you live in a system where you think you're free, but you work for them. You got a job by them. We got to pretend when you work for them. You got to be with your friends and be yourself. And then if you got to go to a job interview, you got to put on this voice and this whole look to be something that they accept. You understand? And they made our people think that for years. They made our women hard for them to get a job if their hair wasn't straight. You talk to many sisters, go on a job interview, going some time back. Probably now certain jobs are accepting it, but it was a time when that was considered, even today, it's still considered not proper for a job interview to have an afro. You understand? Train brothers to cut their hair low, wear a Caesar. That's what they call it. Who is Caesar but a homosexual? Julius Caesar. You know what I'm saying? Partner of Mark Antony. You understand? Things like that. So they train us to have things that's likened to them and to love it to the point that your own people would tell you, man, you need to cut your hair. Oh, you letting yourself loose. Why you got your hair out like that? Because some black women are used to black women having straight fur, right? Because that's another thing. Only people on the planet that have hair is African people. Why? Because hair versus fur. Think about this. If we took the strand of a dog, took some fur from the dog, right? And you took that fur and you put it in a bag. And you took some fur from, let's say, a cat, and you put it in a bag. Same color. And you took some fur from a monkey, you put it in the bag. Then you took some hair from a black person, and I told you to go into that bag and take out the Caucasian hair or fur. You wouldn't be able to distinguish it from the animals. You understand? But if I ask you to go in there and pull out the afro, right, or the hair, you can find it because it's distinguishable. You can't say that our hair is the same as theirs because it's not. You understand? Our hair is alive. Theirs is dead. That's why it drops. Ours stand up, going against gravity. Gravity pushes everything down. But our hair still goes up, fights it. So it must be stronger than gravity. It must be some electrical thing going on with our hair. You understand? So this is the type of information that we teach. Any other questions? Anybody else? Any other questions? All right. The aliens? Okay. You got to understand that when it comes to extraterrestrials, some are for us and some are against us. Usually the ones that's for us is those who look like us. You understand? The ones that hate us, they hate us because of who we are. The children of the Neteru, right? They would want to be in that seat too, to be saved, to be able to go home. You know what I'm saying? To be accepted amongst them. But they're not because of who they are. Caucasians are beings that can't move to the next level. We're going through an evolutionary stage on the planet. We call it dimensional shift. They can't make it because they're mixed in with so many animals, right? And then their very nature won't dictate a quality to make them want to be a good person, right? Many times you could say, some people would say some Caucasians are good, right? And the thing is this thing called soul, right? Everybody in the world know soul people are who? Black people, right? Now Caucasians, right? They are lacking in soul. So since they're lacking in soul, they lack in the ability to care. You understand? So they don't even know how it feels to feel like us. The soul makes you have energy where even when you being downtrodden and everything, you can still laugh. Even when you getting whipped on your back, you can still laugh and smile about something. Even when you poor, you can still smile and laugh about things. You understand? That's that quality in you that is from the Most High, which we term as Pa Neteru, right? So these beings having no access to it, right? They want that. And being that they want that, they know the only way they can get it is through us. You understand? Some choose to mix, and because some of us who never knew the information, we mix in unconsciously. Because what happens? If I train you for years to hate yourself, who would you love other than yourself? And who better for, say, a black woman to mess with someone who looked just like Jesus? Or for the black man to say, I got a trophy when I get a white woman, because I was taught my woman was nothing. You understand? So they hate us because of who we are, children of the closest to the creators. And they want to beat us because they've been teaching us to beat them for years. Like, naturally for us, it is not natural for black people to want to be white people. It's not natural. The only reason we do it is because we was programmed. When a person puts a program in another person, do you blame the person that's being programmed or the programmer? If you have a computer, your computer comes naturally with a program, right? And then there's other programs that you would have to put in it for it to work a certain way. If you buy yourself a Mac computer, it doesn't come with Microsoft Word. You have to buy Microsoft Word and put it in that computer, right? So now when you buy it and put it in that computer, that becomes a program that the computer now responds to. 400 years of slavery, they put a program in us by mixing their seed with us. When you take two genes or two people that's far from each other genetically, Caucasians, us, we are progressive, they are regressive. You know what I'm saying? The gene-wise. When you take those two and mix them, the children is going to have characteristics of the nature of both a Caucasian and a black person, right? So what happened is, when you see our women, they may get straight hair. That's not the African part of them. That's the gene. That's that 400-year generation gene that says that's ugly. You know what I'm saying? Look like this. When brothers say women ain't this, or when women say men ain't that, that's not the African in them. That's the Caucasian in them. Because the African in you love your own. When we say things like, don't mix your seed, most people would say, that's wrong. Right? But we don't get mad when the lions would never mess with a tiger. We don't get mad when the monkey would never mess with a chimpanzee. The chimpanzee would never mess with the baboon. The tiger would never mess with a leopard. The pit bull would never mess with a German shepherd. They all the same species, right? But when people say blacks should not mess with whites on a genetic level, people get offended. The African part of you are not offended by that as a black person. But the Caucasian part is, because the Caucasian part needs to mix in with that black gene every 300 years in order to stay alive. Because if Caucasians mix with each other for 400 plus generations alone, they'll be wiped out. And if they mix with us for 400 generations, they'll be wiped out. So they strategically know at what time, because their overlords have taught them at what time to mix in with the Nagaros in order to keep your race repetitive. But what's happening now is their race have been mixing in for so long that they're on their way out. You know what I'm saying? So we was taught that by 2060 there will be no more Caucasian. Right now, there is no pure blood Caucasian. Because like we said earlier, a pure blood, blonde hair, blue eyes, red hair, green eyes. Most of them that you see now are fake blondes. You know what I'm saying? Fake redheads. They're not real. Most Caucasians today have dark hair, dark eyes. So they're really European mulattoes, which means they got that black gene in them. So these beings hate us because of who we are and what we represent. We represent their demise. You know what I'm saying? We always existed. We don't have a birth record. They can't calculate when we first came to this planet because it was trillions. We gave birth to the universe. What we are made up of, the non-ether gases that we are made up of, created or grew everything in the universe. Talking about from what they call the Big Bang. Our energies, our etheric energies, the things that was the sun that exploded, that gave birth to all the planets. So non-ether is fluent all through the universe. That dark energy, that dark matter that scientists don't know nothing about. Because you ask, you know about dark energy, dark matter? Well, this is a substance. If you ask a scientist who's a physicist, what's dark matter? You know what they're going to tell you? I don't know. They don't know. But they come up with terms to tell you that it exists. We teach that the universe is made up of 76% dark energy, 24% dark matter, right? These are the energies that makes up everything. If we was to take everything out this temple, everything out the world, right? meaning the stars, the suns, everything. You'll be only left with space, and that space will be darkness. We live in darkness. You only think you live in light because of the sun. You know what I'm saying? When the sun goes out, or when the sun doesn't even go out, when the planet spins and the sun is shining on that side of the world and not on this side of the world, and that darkness that we're in, that's the state that the planet is always in. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, the sun itself is in space, which is in what? Darkness. And if you correlate that to religion, they tell you a key and tell you where do God reside. They'll say, God said what? Let there be. So if God said let there be light, what state do he reside in? So darkness is good. Darkness is bad. Black is beautiful. But they will teach you black is bad. So they do reverse psychology to get us to hate ourselves. When blackness or darkness is supreme balancement. Everything that's supreme is in darkness. Everything in the darkness gave birth to the light. Because darkness or blackness is permanent. Light is temporary. Even though we see the sun, it is temporary. It's going to burn out one day. You know what I'm saying? When you have lights in here, these lights are temporary. They're going to blow out one day. You know what I'm saying? So the only thing that can't go away is darkness. Darkness is eternal because it always was and always will be. Any other questions? Yeah. Because they know that our ancestors, right? They want to replenish this planet, right? Yeah. This is what these stories that religious people get in the Bible and the Quran, it was plagiarized. So being that every 24,000 years, there's a new cycle. And every 15,000 years, there's an ice age. So certain things happen at a certain time. So when you're looking at the biblical stories, they're talking about incidents that actually existed. So we're going through a state of a replenish right now, right? Now, in the replenish, Warner is sent to us to raise us up in frequency. Some of us will be able to make it when we raise our vibration to go with him or go with them on crafts, on ships, and some of us won't. You know what I'm saying? Those who don't adhere to the teaching, they won't make it. You know what I'm saying? So we would have to learn how to change our vibration to vibrate on a higher level. Now, the Netzeru or the Guardians, they want to destroy this and replenish it again. Now, what Caucasians are doing, because they're living off of remnants. Their overlords are gone. They have overlords just like we have, called the Pleiadians. They left them. They don't want to have nothing to do with them. Their own gods. You know what I'm saying? Because there's rules in nature, right? And certain beings, they know. All the beings that are higher than humans, they know who Pa Netzeru are. So they know that this is the time the ancestors of the Nagaru is going to come to the planet. And they can't be here because they have something called the Intergalactic Confederation. Certain beings are a part of it. Even if they was Makasu, even if they was reptilian. And they abide by those rules. Now their children are the ones that's on the planet. They don't abide by the rules because they don't know. And when they did know, they would still break the rules because they're evil. You know what I'm saying? So our ancestors want to replenish it. So what the Caucasian did was this. Because they knew that they wouldn't destroy this planet, not the planet though, just to replenish. So that's the people. They wouldn't destroy this unless they get close to us. What I mean by that is, the Caucasians knew if we get closer to the black people, right, it'll be much hard for Pa Netzeru to destroy them. Because what would the Netzeru be doing at that point? Destroying their own children too. And they don't want to destroy their children. So they send a warner, Pa Nababianan, Dr. Malachi York, right? They send him to separate us from them. You know what I'm saying? And in doing that, it puts us in a safeguard to be away from them. But if you notice, look all around. Look at all our communities today. Caucasians are moving in places they never lived 10 years ago. Look at Bushwick. This was a hood. This was nothing but blacks over here. Blacks and Hispanics. You ever been at Myrtle train station? You see how it's whited out? They pushing us out by gentrification. Gentrification is when they raise the rent in the neighborhood. They raise the rent and push out the black people or the poor people. Push them out by raising the rents up so they could come and live in our neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? And those of us who are still here probably been here for years and the rent is stabilized. Because an average apartment now in these neighborhoods, if you ask right across the street, $2,000, 1 bedroom, who could afford that? You understand? So they purposely push people out. And they coming closer to us purposely in our neighborhoods so that Panetudu won't destroy it. Check it. Our ancestors see us as light. While we on a frequency, everything is frequency. Everything is energy. You can say that you're something, but your energy will dictate what you really are. You can say you're a good person, but your energy dictate what you really are. Panetudu see you as whole light beings. So your energy, your aura would say what you really are. So if they look down and see a whole bunch of, let's say green is a positive energy and amber is a negative energy, even though you are a black person, you may be doing things or thinking a way like a Caucasian. So to the Neteru or the ancestors, you do not look like them. You understand? Your energy says you're other than self and kind. Because even though physically we can see you, on an aura level, etheric level, your energy is saying something totally different. You're projecting something that you're not. If you drink, that's not our way of life. You're going to project a certain energy about yourself with people who are highly sensitive to aura. You understand? You smoke. If you lie, if you backbite, so many stuff that the master teacher put in the books, right? He put simple things like that. And some of us will never get it because we still do it after we hear it. You understand? But it's okay because he always said that those who are going to make it could fit in a Volkswagen. Those who are going to make it could fit in a small square. He knew that his own people, a lot of them is not going to make it. Because in order to make it home, you got to work on yourself. You can't work with a family unless you work on yourself as well. Because there's things about you. There's things about us. All of us have things about us we may not like. But the problem, the thing is, are you working towards bettering that thing? Or are you just trying to dwell with who you think you are? And most of the time, who we think we are is nothing but a spirit personality. A spirit personality. Something that you took on by your surrounding, by your atmosphere. You understand? And what the master teacher is trying to give us is who you are, your soul. Your soul is really who you are. All black people have one soul, linked to Pa Neteru. You understand? Different vessels, right? But the same content. That means we all may look different. You may be light, you may be dark, you may have curly hair, you may have afro. We all are different vessels, but the same content. That content is soul, right? And that's what makes you a person that cares. That's the person, that what makes you the person that hear all this stuff about white people, and a white person falls in front of you outside and you still help them, right? All the things, and then check this out, but that white side is so strong in us that we will help that white person and probably come amongst each other and hate each other. You understand? Those are the type of stuff that the master teacher is trying to get rid of out of our system, but he can't do it alone. That's a self-analysis. You have to do it. You have to take the information and utilize it. It's one thing to talk about what we know and to teach it and, propagate it. But if you ain't doing it and using it on yourself, because we look at this as a hospital, right? A mental hospital. All of us that's here, we was out in the world, we lived a certain life, whatever it may be. And then something clicked in us to say, come here. And we came. You understand? But with coming here, you also have to deal with other personalities. You understand? And different personalities could clash. But we have to learn how to work with those personalities regardless, because we family. And if we understand that principle of soul, if you affected, I'm affected. And when we get to that point and we really understand those principles, then we on our way to go home. Back to the stars. You understand? Any other questions? That we're going to end the class. Thanks for coming out and enjoy the rest of your day.